Okay, I think we're just about in here. I guess I'd like to officially welcome you to Relevant, a very special event. I'm super stoked to have these gentlemen here who are going to speak on our panel, talk a little bit about what they're doing in digital marketing. And so this is just an opportunity, this is a labor of love. This is a chance for us to bring good people together to connect for all different reasons and share information. So I guess, without further ado, I'll have kind of these guys introduce themselves. Let's go from David this side and just kind of give you 30 seconds or less. This is who I am and this is what I do. Ready, go.
So my name is David Harris. I'm the Director of Digital and Direct Response for BJ's Restaurants. How many people have eaten at BJ's? Thank you very much. Awesome. I've got about 20 years of digital experience across a bunch of car brands. I've worked with Suzuki. I've seen some of my colleagues here. I've worked with Hyundai, a little startup called Fisker Automotive. We've done some work with Volkswagen, and excited to be here.
Next up.
I'm Andy Leisner. I'm the Vice President Group Publisher of the Bonnier Motorcycle Group. And we have 12 motorcycle media brands. We push content to about 8.3 million motorcyclists on a regular basis through digital, video, mobile, and print, as well as email. We're a very hyper-vertical interest media group that is the largest motorcycle media company in the world.
My name is Charles Maselli. I'm the Vice President of Business Development and Entrepreneur Media. We have a magazine and a website, entrepreneur.com. You might have seen, who's seen our Entrepreneur, logo on the side of that building out there? Well, we moved, so don't go there looking for me there. We're like a mile away from there, but I guess we were there for about 20 years, so everyone's seen that building. And the company's been around about 40 years. And I work on, I do partnerships. I work on getting our brand out there, not through traditional means, but more, using our content to get people back and extend our brand. And a lot of other things on the digital side, brand licensing, to get us into new verticals, and get ourselves on apps. Everyone has apps and reading content, so we got to get out there. So just definitely out there combing the digital landscape, trying to figure out how we make money on that.
Hey everyone. My name is Scott Tilton. I'm the founder and CEO of Hookit. And essentially, I grew up as a competitive racer in motocross and downhill mountain biking. Did get a degree in there at one point. And I started this company a number of years ago, and the core business has always been about connecting athletes and brands. And over the past few years, we've developed a lot of scoring algorithms and ways that we can measure the value, talent, and influence of an athlete. And we're using all of that now as a way to help the athletes earn recognition and deals, and helping the brands to effectively discover new up-and-coming talent and quantify the investments that they're making in the pros. So it's been an amazing journey, and watching everything that's been happening in the digital landscape, and I think that we're now truly changing the way that money is being spent on athletes. So it's been very fun.
Good. Why don't you stick with the mic for a second, Scott, and I'll throw the question back to you. So kind of give us a state of the union. Give us an idea of what the digital landscape is. Briefly tell us how you're making money and how you're connecting brands to athletes.
So we wouldn't have been able to do what we do 10 years ago, which is when we started. So, with the launch of Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, Vimeo, so the way that the business originally began was that athletes would come on and build a profile similar to, a job site. They'd post all their own content, and then they would apply to brands to try and get support. And it was up to them to position themselves as best as they could. And none of the information was verified. The brands had to sift through thousands of athletes, and there was no real indicator of who was moving the needle. So literally in the past 3 to 4 years is when we started integrating with every single social platform. We started aggregating event data from tens of thousands of promoters, and we started combining all that information to put together a score for an athlete. And it's turned into this thing where the athletes don't have to be active on Hookit because we're the source of the data and the information, but we encourage them to be active everywhere else because that's where they're out promoting brands. So it's so deep now, we're aggregating a couple billion pieces of data a month and content, and we're using all this information to power digital properties, to power reports and rankings, and what's happened is the athletes it's changed behavior so quickly that now the athletes have a mechanism to be able to compare themselves against other athletes. The brands are using it to run reports and watch what the athletes are posting and who they're mentioning and tagging. And we don't even know fully what it is yet, but we know it's really powerful. So,
I think it's really good insight. Part of my takeaway from what you said is what I get asked all the time, which is what's the most important social media platform to be on, or what's the most relevant piece of digital to look at? And I think the answer really is all about, it depends where your people are, right? So
it's kind of all of them.
Yeah, but it depends though, right? So if they're not on Twitter, you don't have to waste time being there. But the other thing is too, as marketers, we want to force them, usually, that's our mindset, we want to port them and force them to go into a certain platform that we want them to go to, whether it's our website or whether it's Facebook, whatever. But the reality is that this is the age of the connected consumer, right? They're gonna go where they want to go. And so I think you guys are really smart reacting to that and calling an audible. Charles, let me ask you, because I know you guys are getting into YouTube, and you've recently partnered with an MCN. Everyone know what an MCN is? Multi-channel network? Talk to us about how Entrepreneur Media or Entrepreneur Magazine is adapting content for mobile, for YouTube specifically, and other digital plays.
Yeah, that's a great story that you had there. I mean, you really do have to go where the consumer is. They're everywhere, and I'm out there trying to find them, trying to figure out what the audiences are, and there's new things that start every day. But I think what we do, last year we launched, it took a while, but we launched a mobile optimized site. So when and it's great because Google just did that algorithm change that you get penalized if you don't have one, and our mobile site is fantastic. 30% of our traffic is mobile, and it's just grown month over month over the last year. And we have to have a mobile site. We have to be on Flipboard. We have to be out there on Twitter. We're out there socially.
Wait, so can I ask, what percentage of your viewership now is mobile versus web? Approximately.
I think about 30%.
Okay, 30%.
30% mobile.
So Scott said,
Ours is 75.
Wow.
Younger demo, but it's surprised it's so low.
Really? Yeah. And we have also a huge international presence too. So I don't know if yours is international or not. Yeah.
Talk to us about what you're doing specifically with YouTube and why you're spending time on YouTube.
YouTube is a powerful platform. We need to get more video views. It's hard as a publisher. We're built to write articles. We create content. But it's hard for us to kind of pivot and embrace video fully. And so what we're doing is we formed a new company. It's a joint venture, and we're starting kind of like an MCN. We don't like to use that word because we're not just relying on YouTube. It's our platform. Part of our platform is YouTube, and that's a big part of it. But basically, we're going to be out there aggregating content from entrepreneurs. Probably a lot of you out here do videos and post them on YouTube, and you get some views. But maybe you could, appreciate and leverage our brand by becoming part of our network, and we'll help you monetize that. If you're doing so already, we'll get you more views. We'll do some direct sales for you. We'll support the operations.
And that network, Yeah, and that network will allow you to pipe it into places like Netflix and Hulu and other places, right?
Yeah, we have to do deals with them to create, channels on those platforms, Roku and so forth.
Yeah. And you talk about Bonnier Media, what you guys are doing. I know you have lots of different magazines, but what are you guys doing in digital?
Sure. Yeah, and digital is really video now. Video is our biggest, highest priority, and where we're spending the most time and energy. We have really strong brands. We have really, really great brands that started in print. Some of them were started with digital, and now we push that content through digital, through mobile. We're 56% mobile views, so and that's growing rapidly. But video, as they discussed, that's a huge market for us. And what we do is, our strategy with video is initially publish it on our site. We use a platform called Uyala, which a lot of you are probably familiar with, which we like. It's a good native platform for us for monetizing video. With pre-roll advertising, there is an unlimited supply of pre-roll advertising, not just endemically with motorcycle manufacturers, but network. I mean, an endless supply. So we try to monetize on Uyala on our site, and then we have syndication partners, AOL, Yahoo, Daily Motion, of course YouTube, where we, and a lot of platforms like Roku and Netsu TV that are desperate for content, desperate for any content they can get right now. Everybody's trying to put a stake in the ground, for video and to establish their channel, and we want to be the providers of the highest quality of all their motorcycle content, essentially. So that's a big initiative for us is becoming the motorcycle content provider for as many of these platforms as we can get. And right now, the content, we're not able to monetize that content. We get massive views for that content, and it's mostly product placement. We monetize it via product placement, some content marketing that we do with manufacturers. We did a Ducati video series that we had over 20 million views of those videos, so that's how we monetize it now. But I'm hoping, as the world is changing and people stop watching network TV and stop watching cable TV, and programmatic advertising comes to video, that's the future of monetizing that is sort of programmatic advertising via video.
David, I want to ask you about how you are finding the consumer and then basically reaching them wherever they are. So you've got a challenge, right? Like you have new menu items. I know you guys are doing a whole health push where you've got new healthy menu items. You've got craft beers. You've got lots of different kind of segments, right, that you're talking to. How active are you guys in buying media? Talk about the marketing mix a little bit. Where are you guys buying the media, and how's the breakdown?
So there's fundamentally two challenges. One, we need to attract new customers. Secondarily, we need to keep them. So we have a very active loyalty program. Some people will call it CRM. Some people call it database marketing. We call it loyalty. And we want to hang on to the customers that we get. That means we have to deliver a stellar experience, but we also have to keep communicating. We have to engage with them, and we have to listen to them.
Yeah, but where are you doing that?
So we're doing that across the social channels, but it's a layered tactics. You think about everything that goes on in the website. People are coming to your website because they want to discover your brand, find out what you're offering. You've got to provide a stellar experience. So there's a lot of work that's going on there. There's a lot of work that's going on in the search category, the social category.
So are you getting more activity traction on the website?
We're trying to find out also.
Yeah, but let's get real for a second. Let's get real. Like, where's it really happening? Like, so where are you seeing the best traction?
Well,
it's not your website, is it?
It's their website.
Okay.
And I'll address one element of that, which is it's mobile. We see, right now we're saying 60%. We took a hit because we don't have a responsive site. We're in the process of building it. We were at 70%.
Does everyone know about this change that just happened? What was it, like a week ago?
It actually happened. I can tell you, when they started rolling it out April 1st.
Okay, Roger and I work together. Roger's awesome. If you want SEO and paid stuff, Roger's the expert. It's still rolling out? How much time have we got before we need to panic? Okay. A couple weeks to get your website mobile friendly. David?
Not to disagree with you, but we saw a pretty good impact April 1st, that first week of April. Google usually rolls these things out and they'll test them. They don't do a big light switch. They'll do a lot of tests. And their dates usually are a nice target, but not accurate. And so we're already seeing some impact. I'm watching it happen specifically in the mobile space.
Let's go back to Andy for a second. So, you publish content, you have advertisers. Talk to us about some of the misperceptions and realities of that model. Like, I want eyeballs, I want engagement, maybe I'm buying third-party stuff. Like, walk me through what's right and what's wrong with what's happening right now in your space.
Well, in our space, we have two distinct customers for our ad inventory. We have direct buys from motorcycle manufacturers and motorcycle companies who are basically trying to reach an enthusiast, and to reach a specific enthusiast through our, we have really strong first-party data. We know an IP address on our site is a Harley Davidson 883 owner, and someone's trying to sell a specific exhaust system for that motorcycle, we can identify those people across our network, and then retarget outside of our network as well. And then, so that's one customer is that looking for that hyper targeted customer. The other is networks, and again, there is a massive demand right now for ad impressions. There's just not enough ad impressions for all the companies that are seeking them through ad networks and programmatically, and those are low CPM.
Talk about this programmatic term, because maybe not everyone, including me, I don't really understand it. Programmatic.
Sure. Yeah, so it basically advertising is becoming, for more general interest brands, it doesn't necessarily work as well for a real enthusiast product like ours. But for general interest brands, a company can not buy sites, but say buy a demo, and they say we want Miller will say, hey, we want 35-year-old males that drink beer, and they will buy this through a programmatic agency, and basically they will deliver IP addresses that fit that demographic profile anywhere and everywhere across the internet. So it's a they use what we call second and third party data. That is basic sort of demographic data. First party data is sort of publisher owned, that it's really specific on, goes much deeper than just sort of demos. So, but yeah, so programmatic is a big trend in our business right now, and for general interest brands, instead of buying a site saying, hey, I think a lot of 35-year-old males like consume that content, they're just going to buy 35-year-old males all over the internet, wherever they are.
I don't know if that's entirely legal, but it's happening, huh? Charles, so you guys have shifted in the last year to more of a content creator network. You've opened it up, you've got a lot more people writing. Are you seeing the same kind of thing, like inventory shortage? Basically, used to be web banners and email and social, and you've got that, or you've got, sponsorship for American Idol, right? And there was nothing in between. So are you seeing this huge demand for original content, or people writing and even curating more content? Is that why you have really supercharged this content network?
Yeah, definitely on the video side. We need more video inventory, which is why we started the new Entrepreneur Network Video Initiative. It's so costly and expensive to produce video on your own, so we will still continue to do that. We'll make investments in that, but we need the support of the broader network. And on the content side for articles, we opened, like you said, Bryan, we opened up our site to allow people outside to become contributors, and they can write content. There's an editorial process and a review that takes place, but maybe 3 years ago we were producing 5 articles a day, now we're producing 50. And we need to grow.
You still are not meeting the demand, right?
No, we need, the content needs to continue to grow the audience, but it needs to grow in the right way.
So I think that's a message to everyone out there who creates content, whether you're writing about it, tweeting about it, making videos, taking pictures. You hear what these guys are saying? There is there's a supply and demand issue right here, right? There's much more demand than there is supply. So this is an opportunity for all of us, right? If we create something cool in their space that's relevant, we could connect with folks like this to get in the pipeline, or to get in their distribution or partner up and stuff. Let me take a few questions from the audience, people who want to ask specifically to any one of these guys. Are there any questions so far? Right here. Nice and loud. I'll try to repeat your question.
Okay, so talking about content, the question you just addressed.
Who's this? This is Scott, Charles, Andy, David. Charles. Okay. Entrepreneur Magazine.
Yes. What are you finding works great for the content choices people make, and what doesn't work great? Length of stories, or
yeah, short form versus long form. What kind of content? I mean, I'm frankly sick of the BuzzFeed. You won't believe what happens. Click on this, but
I'm gonna check your web browser.
I know.
See where you're going. You're at BuzzFeed all the time.
But New York Times is doing this. New York Times is doing this. It's ridiculous. But we keep clicking on it. Where's Rohit? Rohit, are you in here? Please address this in your keynote. Okay, we'll talk about this trend of, you know, link bait and all that stuff.
Clickbait.
Yeah, go ahead.
It's definitely short form, but it's not clickbait. We have a brand, we have equity, our audience expects a certain level of content from us, so we can't play that game. We can't play that game. But our content is shorter form than, you know, on the website than in the magazine. People are coming in from on their phones, they're coming in from search engines, they're busy, they don't have a lot of time to read online. So
Well, I want to know too, is the website an echo chamber for the magazine, or is it completely different content?
it's the magazine is not replicated online. We let some of the articles out there, but for the most part, it's kind of its own. It's got its own style, although we cover similar subject matter.
And are you leading people from paper to the web and from web to paper? Are you doing that too?
Yes, but we could do a better job with that.
Okay, thanks for being honest. Other questions? I saw one. Okay.
I think my question is it Scott at Entrepreneur?
So this is Scott from Hook It, Charles from Entrepreneur, Andy Bonnier.
I think it's for Charles then.
Okay, another Charles question.
What did you say you were doing to increase video content? You said you used something new and I didn't catch it.
Oh, her question is basically about your new network. What is that?
We're starting a new network, Entrepreneur Network, that we're going to create original content, but we're also going to aggregate. I feel like I should stand up too. We're going to aggregate channels of people that are already out there creating business-related content, and some of it's kind of creative and fun, some of it's more serious. But we're going to go out there and sign them up to become part of our network, roll them under our brand, and then syndicate it out to our website for certain content, and then we'll also distribute it out through our partners, through like AOL and Yahoo, and also we'll have channels on Xbox One, PS4, Roku, and so forth. So our platform will be a lot bigger than it is today.
Do you compensate those users that buy the content?
That's right. That's the big part, is that although they can monetize it on their own, we will, through marketing and just the mechanisms that we have in place to grow the channel and grow the views and cross-promote, that they will get a lift in video views and exposure, and then they will make more money overall. They will take a cut of the revenue.
You give that piece of the CPM then?
Yeah, of course. And then we also do the content, the product placement, the need of marketing. So we have a kind of a related company that's basically will help find sponsors for a person that's doing the video. So if you're doing a video on YouTube and you're talking about LegalZoom and you love LegalZoom, this company will identify that for LegalZoom. LegalZoom will then try to strike a deal directly with that content maker, and they will make direct revenue with LegalZoom, and we will take a cut of that too.
Yeah, good, you should. Other questions? In the back.
Yeah, so I'm a little confused when you talked about the IP addresses and how you can buy data.
Are we talking to Andy?
I'm not sure.
This is Andy right here.
It's hard to see. Yeah, how you can buy data to specifically find your customers. Let's say somebody's looking for catering in my town.
Yeah. There are programmatic agencies. You know, ad tech is a business that is overcrowded, and every day there's a new ad tech company and a new programmatic agency, but a network. So, and I don't want to bore people with terms, but supply side platforms, demand side platforms. But essentially, yeah, you go to an agency that basically finds this inventory for you, and you tell them your targets, and they'll go buy it.
So you've got, basically you've got trading desks out there that are aggregating a whole bunch of inventory, and they create a profile. So they have a very rich demographic, psychographic profile, including down to the IP level. So every time that you go onto a computer, they're tracking your behavior. All of you know that. DoubleClick's been around for 20 years, 20 plus years. They've been doing it, you know, that entire time. And they create a profile, not necessarily of you, but of your computer. And then, you know, whether you're using Turn or you're using Rocket Fuel, or there's a litany of programmatic buying agencies, and a lot of them get white labeled and repped by an advertising agency in front, who then takes a commission of it as well. So you've got to be really smart when you're out there buying media. At the same time, I suspect that when you're selling your network that you're probably tapping into those programmatic channels in order to generate revenue. And there's a lot of activities we see revenue being spent now. I think 30 to 40% was what was reported of advertising revenue is spent in the digital arena, and it's going to grow from there. But if you're buying, you want to be smart, and if you're selling, you also want to be smart because you don't want to short sell yourself.
What's fascinating to me about programmatic, there's a time and a place for programmatic, but what's really fascinating about this is the real-time bidding aspect of it, where essentially you log onto your computer and then it says, hey, I got a 35-year-old male here who wants him, and essentially these algorithms are bidding for that person, and Miller may say, I'll pay $1.50, and someone else says, I'll pay $1.75 CPM for him, and then in a millisecond, an ad appears on that person's screen to the highest bidder, basically, for that IP address.
So those of you who are familiar with search, it's essentially the same thing, just applied to media. And it's going to be applied viciously to broadcast. So these are disruptors. But being disruptors, they're also opportunists. And it makes the digital space a really fascinating space to do business in, whether you're a buyer or a seller. You've got to stay on your toes and stay ahead of the curve as much as you can.
Good. Other questions out there? Okay, I'd like maybe we'll start with Scott back here on this side. Talk about your worst marketing mistake, and then how you course corrected what you learned from it.
We don't really market, so no. We bought a motorhome once, and what we thought was a $100,000 motorhome turned into a $500,000 motorhome. So
I think they call that experiential, don't they?
Yeah, pretty much. We lived in it for a period of time too. So, but yeah, no. When we first started the company, we were on the road a lot, and we literally thought it would be cheaper to have a motorhome and not stay in hotels, and that was a terrible decision. And I, to this day, do not go in motorhomes anymore.
Thank you. Your worst marketing mistake and how you course corrected what you learned from it.
So I bought a motorhome too. You took my motorhome story. Yeah, no. I think I bought it from you. It's hard for me to nail down one marketing mistake. I think, not that I have a lot, I'm just, in my role, it's a lot of, trying to dip our toe into new categories, and I think it has to do with learning just the process of us as a brand and as a publisher, learning how to market our own products and services better, and it's a lot of work. You guys have a really tough job doing that for your own products and services and for your clients.
Charles, we really want something specific.
Do you really?
Yeah.
Maddie's gonna push me.
Can you think of one? Because I can think of one.
You're not periscoping this, are you? Right now?
No.
Can you think of one?
Well, I don't know if you guys consider it a success or failure, but like maybe from the outside looking in, it wasn't your biggest success. So a year or two ago, you guys tried a mobile game, right?
Oh, there you go. Well, yes.
Yeah. Talk about what you learned.
Initially it was for a story that we wrote in the magazine about the process of making a game. You can't get it now. I should have left it out there on iTunes. The game's called Boss Hole. Sorry about that. It's kind of crude. If you met our editor, you would know why it's called Boss Hole. She's very edgy. She rides motorcycles, and
she does ride Ducati.
Yeah. I think she switched. I don't know what she's riding these days.
BMW, I think I saw on her latest Instagram.
That's right. Yeah.
Amy and I are tight.
That's right. And we went through the process of making the game, and then just the process of trying to get people to download apps. I mean, it was a new experience.
How much did you invest in it, approximately?
Do you really?
Yeah,
you guys can't tell
Make a range. Give us a range. Just so that we.
Over around.
Was it 5 figures, 6 figures, 7 figures?
It was 6 figures, but under 2. There's no 2 in the figure.
So I bring this up because I think I really, these guys who are going to talk about mistakes, I think it's worth underscoring. You know, like I've learned a ton from Rohit, from Gary, from Seth, from lots of these authors that have come visited us over the years and talked, and who've written books on this. And some of the best advice I ever got that still sticks in my mind is something that Seth Godin told me. And he said, because I'm a big Star Wars fan, something very controversial. He said, Bryan, you know, Yoda was wrong. And first of all, I was like, okay, well, you lost me already. Yoda was wrong. But he said, you know, Yoda was wrong because that do or do not, there is no try statement is false. He said, there is a try, and try is the opposite of hiding. And so the other statement that's false is this, you know, failure is not an option. You know, we kind of carry around that, you know, that flag and we wave it. Failure is not an option. But the reality is that failure has to be an option in order to get to success. So good on you, right, for buying that Winnebago, whatever you did. And good on you for trying that game, because if you're not trying, then you are hiding, right? And you've got to spend money, you've got to take risks. So those are calculated risks. I mean, sure, you were homeless for a little while, that's fine. And sure, maybe any other one at home, yeah, but like, so we have to try stuff that might not work. And that's how we get eventually to this point where we can figure it out. So, and you know.
Yeah, a failure one day was a great idea and a success a month or a year earlier. You know, when apps came, when everybody was publishing content on apps, and we gotta have apps, you know, and we started building all kinds of apps, and they were expensive to develop, and the posting process was difficult and expensive, and then all of a sudden nobody was using apps anymore, and so we basically just had to abandon ship as it was sinking. And so
what did that cost you? Roughly.
It wasn't a seven-figure number, no. But it was you know, we had to cut that cord. And the other big one that you know, we're always having to try new things because the media world changes monthly. And we started making our first foray into content marketing and making, you know, native advertising or making, you know, video products for our customers.
Original content.
Yeah. First ones we made were basically like video brochures for the product. And
that's because you weren't working with us. Subpar.
And this is several years ago, but you know, we had to do it because this is what was happening. So, and they just fell flat, no views, you know, whatsoever. So, you know, now, you know, the content we make is engaging, fun first, and it just so happens that the product is layered into it. It's not about the product. The product is really, really in the background. We just make really fun, cool content that people watch. So, but that, again, that first one, you know, trying to explain to the client that we had 1,263 views for their video that they spent, you know, a bunch of money on was hard.
Ford tried this a little while ago on TV. Remember this TV show? It was all about like the Ford Escape. It had like these popular YouTubers. It's this gal I've had on my show before, Justine. She goes by iJustine. Did you guys see that show last year? Maybe it was like 2 years ago.
You're talking about when they launched the Fiesta?
No. They had a whole show. You probably just missed it because it was this whole network TV play with the Ford Escape. It was about escaping, and they had all these influencers with air quotes, influencers, and they were legit influencers, but it just flopped. They spent a ton of money on it. So,
well, they spent a ton of money on their Fiesta movement too, which was a social media play that cost $2+ million.
Yeah. So talk to us about your worst marketing mistake.
So a little different perspective. When you're working with agencies or you're working with partners, if they're full of shit, cut them loose. Yeah, and that's really the minute that you smell that they're lying to you or they're not being transparent, cut them loose. And that's been my worst mistake, is not making that decision earlier. Okay? And I've worked with a lot of agencies and a lot of partners. If they're not transparent, they have a reason to not be transparent. And that would be my worst mistake.
Okay. Any more questions before I dive into my next one? Good stuff so far? You like it? Give me a thumbs up. Give me some feedback. See, that's engagement right there. Good. Let's go back to Scott for a second. And I want to talk about metrics. So how do you guys measure success? And if someone in the audience is your future client, how do you talk about a W in the win column? How do you talk about success metrics? And because it's not all about, please tell me, it's not all about views and likes and shares. There's other ways to measure success, yeah?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's a really loaded question, by the way.
Thank you. That's my job.
So we, on the metric side, we look at a couple of things. So we look at athletes that are engaging with brands, because then we can identify which ones have the interest in the brand, and then we can use our scoring to figure out the level of influence they have to potentially market that brand.
Who's popular right now in sports?
So it sounds like there's a lot of motorcycle people in here. Ken Roxon is always at the top of the rankings. Ryan Villapoto and James Stewart both fell off huge now that they're not racing. So I grew up racing motocross. I'm a moto freak, but basically, Cristiano Ronaldo, when you look at mainstream sports, he just dwarfs everybody. So a good number of interactions, to put it in perspective, Ken Roxon gets like 1 million interactions a month, maybe sometimes, 1 million, 2.
Is this on your site, what you're tracking?
This is what we're tracking,
Okay,
but
so-
this is across all social platforms.
Okay, but these are the numbers that you're tracking.
Correct,
So
yeah.
Ken gets 1 million and Cristiano gets...
He once got 38 million in 1 week. So 38 million interactions. So what we consider an interaction is a like, comment, share, mention, there's a bunch of stuff in there. So, so our key metrics are when we look at the core business, the good thing, we don't sell ads, so we never have to deal with any of this stuff that you guys are talking about, and we can roll into a brand and basically give them a performance-based, direct higher margin sales channel to sell to amateur athletes, and we can give them data to help them quantify their spend. So, and it's all performance-based, so our money's coming from different budgets, and we are monitoring what they're doing with you guys in some cases, because they're picking which athletes to put in that content based on our metrics. But what we look at right now is just the sheer volume of data that we're able to collect around the athletes. And so right now we're integrating with every single wearable tech device we can get to. So, Strava, Fitbit, Trace, there's all these different products that we're trying to integrate with.
Are you guys paying attention to the Apple Watch, or you not care yet?
We do, but so we've revamped all of our experiences for the athlete it's just a score monitor. So we're not trying to actively get them to post and be active on our site. We want them to just check it every day to see how their score is and where they stack up. And so the Apple Watch app that we're going to launch is just literally a score with alerts of your rising, falling, things like that. So, but to answer your question, we look at how active are the athletes engaging with brands, and how much data can we collect around the athletes, and are both of those growing, exponentially every month.
And so then you charge accordingly. So the people who are doing less, it costs less. It's like a CPM model?
No, there's no CPM. It's so on the commerce side. So we drive a significant amount of commerce for the brands, because as a former athlete, there was a couple of things I forgot. Which is there's 2 things, and it took 12 years to figure it out. And the first one was that the better you get, the more you spend. And I was like, holy shit! Like, you're buying the best products, and you're consuming them all the time because you're breaking them, and you ride or do your sport far more frequently than any other, like the serious and the casual athletes. And then the second was athletes compete at everything. And it's not just so when we launched our rankings, it gamified the score, and then we figured out so we would always compare them to people that they're competing against already. And when we first had the score come out, they would look at it and they're like, oh, that's cool, what is that? But then when you put it next to someone they compete against, they're like, what the hell? So
John just ate more peanut butter and jelly sandwiches than me. I'm in trouble.
Yeah. So we're literally massaging everything every single day, because we truly don't know fully what it is yet, but it is effectively measuring what the athletes are doing. And when you start factoring brands into their promotion and their ongoing engagement with their audiences, it has really interesting effects. And one of the things on the content side that was interesting was, hopefully there's no one from Facebook in here, but but basically, the
Facebook is always watching.
Not as much as Google. But Facebook's amazing, and they're a great partner of ours. But obviously they're making money now and they're selling ads. So, these brands spent years driving people to Facebook to like their pages, and now you have to actually promote your posts to reach those people. So the people that aren't throttled are the influencers. So we did this thing with, I was doing a panel last year, and Skullcandy was doing this whole thing on how they did a big feature with Kevin Durant, and after he won the MVP, and they had this whole amazing case study. They spent 50 grand to produce this edit, posted it up to Facebook, and then it didn't work. And everyone's like, okay. And they're like, why didn't it work? And they're like, well, we don't really know. There's not that much data. And I'm literally sitting there changing my slides as this is happening. And so I get up in front and I'm like, okay, do you want me to explain to you why it didn't work? Or I can wait till after if you want. And he's like, no, it's cool. So basically what happened was they created an amazing edit, posted it to YouTube, shared the YouTube link, and I was like, it's simple, you're a brand, and you didn't pay to promote it. And I was like, and second, you shared a YouTube link, you didn't upload it to Facebook, so then it didn't add any additional value. So you got double ding there, and I was like, Kevin Durant, so they had, there's like 2.8 million likes on their page, and it reached 8,200 people. And you know what that reach number is. So but then Kevin Durant posted it, and he got 300,000 likes and comments, but he forgot to mention Skullcandy. So I was like, just give us a call next time.
Okay, so we're getting short on time, so let's continue our answers across the board with Charles and Andy and David. Talk about metrics. Keep it brief.
So our model is advertising. So definitely want the key number is how many people are coming to our site, how many people are reading our magazine to drive the revenue. But
What's the magazine circulation right now?
It's 600,000.
Okay. And are you trying to increase that, or you want to keep it right there?
We've kept it right there for a number of years. I think we're going to keep it right there, and one day maybe start bringing it down and offset it with digital.
How do you rank according to like Inc. and Forbes? What number on the newsstand are you?
On the newsstand, I think we used to be one for a number of years. I think we're second now.
Not bad. Second to who?
To Fast Company.
Fast Company. Okay.
But I'm impressed by the amount of data you collect and the analysis that you do. I think that's the future of all the publishers, is to be able to do that for your own audience, and we need to really invest in doing that so that we could create that loyalty and know more about them, and then build the ecosystem to give them a reason to come back. Interactivity, building a profile, things like that. That's more what we need to do today. And so that metric, I think that's going to be most important, is how many of those people that come back, how many of those people that come have a reason to create and extend their relationship to the next level, and then take them down that funnel of maybe it's an account, maybe it's a subscription, maybe they come to an event, maybe we're coming out with new products and services, and then we can cross promote and get them to engage with us in different levels.
Thanks. Andy? Metrics. So I'm your client, you're trying to sell me on doing business with you, but I want to know the metrics. I want to make sure I get the return on my investment.
Well, if you really want good metrics, ironically, we get better metrics with a print ad than we do with digital. And that's, digital will do CTR with, the majority of our direct sold units are really good video units, and we can measure engagement with those video units and such. But in print, we have we can measure what percentage of our audience actually stopped and noted the ad, the type of impression that ad made on them, the actions taken after seeing that ad. Did they go to the website? Did they go out and buy the product?
How do you do that?
Through Starch Research, MRI. Starch Research. So it's a costly form of research, but every issue we get a report, every ad in the issue, and what it did. So
what are you spending on that kind of research roughly? Like, what does it cost you to invest in that?
Well, it's part of our big MRI deal, which is a lot of research across a lot of these. But
it's expensive.
It's expensive. Yeah, it's a big
6 figures, 7 figures.
It's not no. It's a big 5-figure number.
Okay, well that's reasonable.
That's the question. So, do they basically put the magazine onto a panel and they watch what they do?
Exactly. Yeah. About 300 people, 300 readers after every issue, and they flip through the magazine. Hey, this ad, did you note that? Oh, yeah, I did, I stopped on that one. What did you do? Oh, I went to their website, or I went out and bought that helmet, or,
Do they tell you who those people are?
No. I wish they did. So that's but traditional digital metrics and Facebook. We're publishing a lot of content, video on Facebook, not through
Native video.
So, native video
Yep.
on Facebook, and of course there's all the regular measurement metrics there, and it's really powerful coming from Facebook because it's a good third-party endorsement.
It is today. I mean, the cover of Ad Week magazine says, "Watch out, YouTube, Facebook is coming for you."
I know. So it
Mark Burnett.
literally monthly, our strategy has to change with Facebook
Yeah.
because Facebook's algorithms change and what they push changes. And right now they love pushing content published, video content published, on Facebook and not linked, in other places.
Metrics.
Revenue.
So I know, because we've talked off camera before about how crazy interested your executives are about social media metrics, right? But like, talk about what's successful. So because I know you run traditional stuff and you run non-traditional and digital. Talk about how do you talk to your executive team and say, this was a success?
Well, fundamentally, we're a business, so every day we know how much revenue came in, how many guests came in, what the average check spend was, how many ounces of beer we sold, how many pounds of dough we used to make the pizza. BJ's is a great experience in the restaurant. As an organization, they're extremely sophisticated in terms of their level of metrics. When we think about social media, we have a very savvy investor group that works with us. We're competitive. Okay, we're like a writer. We're looking at what's going on at Cheesecake Factory, what's going on at Chipotle, what's happening down at any other restaurant. We've got a matrix that we follow on a monthly basis. So, but fundamentally, we're looking for revenue and engagement. We're trying to create an experience in the mind of the consumer that they want to come back and revisit. So they'll do that not only in the restaurant, but through the website, through the social extensions. We want them talking about their experience and sharing it to their network. And fundamentally, you can say, that's free advertising. Well, it's far from free. It costs a lot of sweat and it does cost money, but it's also the strongest advertising because we can shout about how great our pizza is, and it's nowhere near as effective as when one of your friends says, "Hey, this is really a great experience. Come check it out."
All right, let's give these guys a hand. Thanks so much for our panel.